direct bookings are a fundamental piece of the business, but let's not mistake the fact that Airbnb dominates the industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I understand the push for direct bookings and I love it. And it can't be just direct bookings. And frankly, it can't just be OTAs. But if you don't do a great enough job optimizing your listings on the OTAs, then you're not going to get the opportunity to build direct bookings long term, in my opinion. Anyway, so you kind of have to have a multiple pronged approach. So I think we've kind of started to feel like what our own swim lanes are between the two of us. And Elissa really focuses more on the direct booking side. I like to focus on optimizing on the listings and make sure we're performing well on a month by month basis.
Hey folks, welcome back to Direct Booking Simplified, where we break down the strategies and tactics to win in direct bookings. On today's show, I have Al and Elissa. Welcome to the show, Al and Elissa.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to have a power couple on the show. I've had a couple, but I kind of enjoy the dynamic there.
We like to think so too.
Yeah, do you guys mind giving an introduction to yourself?
Sure. Want me to start?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. So my name's Al. I've been tied to residential real estate for probably the last 15 years. I was in the mortgage industry for quite some time. I retired out of that about a year ago. We bought and flipped homes in residential real estate in Southern California. We've done some, property syndications, both multifamily, residential, short-term rentals. We started investing in short-term rentals about 4 years ago, almost 3.5, 4 years ago. And really, it was just an avenue for us to invest into a couple properties, have some passive income. Elissa's background's in hospitality. I'll let you share your background.
So I was a massage therapist and an esthetician, and I was involved in some day spas and some 5-star resorts in Australia and then Dubai, where Al and I met. I spent like 10 years in the hospitality industry doing really fine 5-star hospitality, I guess. I love that side of things, the hospitality, anticipating guest needs. So with Al's love of real estate and my hospitality, I feel like we
made a good combo.
Yeah.
So that's why we decided to start the company. And then we started co-hosting probably 2 years ago. Basically, first property owner just reached out to us because we managed our own properties in that area, and then started growing, added 1 or 2 co-hosts, and then like May of last year, so May of 2023, I guess April of 2023, we decided to kind of take the bull by the horns and start growing the company. I guess that was my scaling inspiration. Elissa loves, as she mentioned, delivering that 5-star hospitality, that 5-star guest experience. Not like what people call 5-star hospitality today, but like actual 5-star hospitality, which is really different than what we see. And it's not easy to do, right? It's one thing to say that we want to offer that, but it's an entirely different thing to do it consistently. So we decided, just over a year ago, I was going to retire out of the mortgage business, come into this business full time and work on growing and scaling the company. So we went from 4 total properties, 3 of which were owned by us, and then up to, I think, 24 properties by the end of last year.
Wow.
We own or have interest in 5 total properties, so the rest of them are co-hosts. I think we're floating right around 30 to 32 properties right now. And so we've gone through the process of adding a bunch of properties, trying to break the machine, so to speak, to figure out where all the holes in the systems are. That's kind of how my brain works. I like numbers and systems and process. So I want to go in and make the problems come up so that we can identify what they are, fix them, and then allow us to scale and add more properties. So
very nice. You mentioned you now have 32 properties there. What's your team makeup like now?
So we just went through a big growth addition to our team about 3 weeks ago. Prior to that, it was myself and Elissa. Elissa does also raise our 2 daughters full-time at home. And so her schedule's pretty strapped, which we're going to go through a lovely evolution in our lives in about 30 days when both our kids start school at the same time. So we're really excited about that. But so prior to that was the 2 of us, our operations manager, Jake, who's been with us for about 13 months. We had, prior to July, we had 1 full-time kind of guest comms slash repairs and maintenance slash property management team member. And then my virtual assistant, Jay, who's been with me for about 3.5 years working on different projects, who's been now full-time with Rather Be. So it was about call it five of us for a while. We just added 4 new team members,
Whoa.
2 of which I'll kind of sidebar this too. We also brought on a full-time interior designer in January and started a full design leg to the business as well, like a sister company to Rather Be Properties, to bring design in-house. And it's the same interior designer that Elissa and I have used and worked with for the last 4 years on our own vacation rentals, on properties that we flipped. And so we brought Brandon in with us as well. So I guess it was a total of 5 of us. And then we, as I mentioned, we brought on 4 new staff members at the beginning of this month, really to position for growth. So we brought on 2 team members to run split shifts for guest comms, reporting up to our team lead, Danny. Brought on 1 really primarily like onboarding support to help with the process of onboarding, permitting, stacking inventory, doing all that fun stuff to get a house ready to go. And then a full-time IT person that started about a month ago, because as you all know in this space, it's a lot of tech integrations and a lot of challenges with tech integrations. So we're overstaffed. We did it intentionally because we do want to grow and scale up to between 50 to 75 properties by the end of this year, and then blow through 100 next year. So right now, I believe we have 9 or 10 total. We just doubled in size about 3 weeks ago.
Nice. That's nice. You mentioned you brought in the in-house designer. Are you also then leveraging that in-house designers to do other people's STRs, or is it mainly to really have a full-time person focused on just your business?
It's a great question. So the primary revenue source for our designers obviously going to be Rather Be Properties. It's our clients. But the way that we set it up was so that Brandon can run Rather Be Design independently from our management company, so that he can service other design clients. He's actually working with one right now in one of the markets that we're in Palm Springs that was referred by an owner that we're onboarding to manage their property. Brandon's also designing their house. That owner referred another client that owns an STR in Palm Springs, self-manages, doesn't need our management services, but is looking to fully refresh the house with new design. So ideally, we have the ability to do both.
Nice. Is he also taking on your branding, or do you have another folks like that's taking on like the brand aesthetics of pretty much every content that gets produced?
Like content-wise on social media and whatnot?
Yeah, like social media, your logos, your colors, like even some of your webpage stuff.
No, the company is called Rather Be Design. So it's LinkedIn that you'd rather be. There's no place we'd rather be. Brandon's style is very unique. We love wallpaper. We go outrageous colors in some of our properties.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, it's still along the same lines, but being in Palm Springs, I think it will be colorful.
Yeah, so it's been part of our kind of brand, so to speak, as a company based off of how we design the properties, the content that we put on social media from how the properties are designed.
Yeah.
But Brandon doesn't necessarily, he's not really he's not the social media ambassador. Elissa really runs like our social media presence, our content, our blogs, our reach out to our, past guests, all that fun stuff.
Nice. So, okay. So you still, Elissa, it sounds like you're still taking the helm on all social media, all the branding stuff. And Brand is really more focused on the physical aspects of the properties. Of course, there's like some translations in between, but there's a dividing line there between the two of you.
Yeah, 100%.
Nice. So how's that been, that transition from being solo operators yourself and then kind of moving towards this model? Are you still in the day-to-day business, or are you guys trying to pull yourself out and really more focus on the systems and the processes?
So I have almost pulled myself out. So I was the primary one in guest comms in everything all day, every day. But being with our 2 young kids, and we also moved to the other side of the country, different time zone, changed a lot of things on me. So Al took over a lot, and then employed some team members to help out with the daily operations.
Mm-hmm.
I still do the marketing, the blogs, the Instagram, some
builds our Airbnb listings as well.
Yeah, I build the listings.
So Elissa does a remarkable job building the Airbnb listings and getting them launched up front. And so that's the only thing that I begged her to continue doing on the main operations because she does such a good job at it. And, I would say I'm probably 30%, 40% in day-to-day operations, where I was 80% in day-to-day operations probably 90 days ago. So my goal is to start pulling out, building the systems and team to take over operations so that I can focus more on growth of the company. Lots of different little things that we're working on, vertical integrations, bringing cleaning company in-house. Obviously the design leg was an aspect of it. So kind of lets me focus on some other areas. But as you know, man, there's so many different aspects of the operations of the business that, we don't know how well it works until we try to step away a little bit. And then
Yeah.
holes are, we got to come back in, fix those holes and then do it again. And so we're going through that cycle and it's different. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. That holy grail is like when you can step away and go on vacation, not have to worry about things bursting.
Yeah. We're almost there. I mean, honestly, 60 days ago, something like that would happen and I'm stuck to my phone,
Right.
I think we're probably like, okay, so this past week I was in California bouncing between the properties out in the field 12 hours a day. And so my emails piled up, text messages piled up, phone calls piled up. And there was one major issue that came up and I had to have a phone call with my operations manager about it. But other than that, the team executed what was needed. We have issues and challenges like everybody else does, but it's a relief for me knowing that we're making progress in that,
Yeah. Yeah. What's been one of your big learnings kind of transitioning through that entire process of pulling yourself out of the day-to-day business and scaling up the team? What did you learn most out of that process?
Wow. Money doesn't solve all problems in operations in the business, right? Like I had a long career in residential lending, and for a while we did really well financially, and we had a lot of cash flow coming in. And generally, when you have a lot of cash flow coming in the business and you're strapped with other resources, try to throw money to solve the problems, right? Hire additional bodies, bring on tech stack, whatever the case might be. And so I've touched the hot stove enough in business to throw money at the problem to realize that doesn't solve all problems, and frankly, that doesn't solve most problems. I think the biggest shift I've gone through in the last year or so is shifting from playing the short game in business in general to really playing that decade-long game in business. So the mindset shift was big for me. It's like, it's okay to scrape our knees today. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay for me to waste some of my time trying to fix an operational process or to fix a small problem. But understanding that that time that we put in up front, if we utilize the lessons that we learn and train our team properly, and we spend the time to train them, world of a difference.
Yeah.
I'll say probably the single biggest game changer recently has been the mindset shift that I went through in treating the process of recruiting new staff as truly a sales process. And that's something I picked up from Alex Hormozy at a recent event I went to. And that's just been a game changer. I think that's going to help us catapult our company long term.
Talk a little bit more, dive a little bit deeper into what you mean by that.
Yeah. So, okay. Most entrepreneurs realize that we have to hire staff and we have to train them in order to eventually build leverage. Like, you don't just hire a rock star A player and pop them into that seat on the bus and they take off the pressure off your plate, right? There's always a transition period when we hire new staff. It might be a month, it might be 2, it might be 3 months, where the workload actually ramps up. It probably doubles the amount of output that you need to put in. And so that mental game happens of, gosh, what am I, are we spinning our wheels? Did we hire the wrong person? Did we do this? Did we do that? So in recruiting and staff in general, I was taught for a long time, when you're hiring new staff members, interview 5 to 7 people, field applications, but interview 5 to 7, narrow down to a second round of interview and hire somebody. Right.
Right.
The big shift I went through was at a recent event I went to at acquisition.com's corporate office. His head recruiter came out and did a 2-hour piece on it. I got a lot from that event, but one of the biggest takeaways was treat your hiring process like a sales process. So if you think about a sales process in general, if I want to bring on 10 new co-hosting clients, say in the next 45 days, then really I probably need to get somewhere around 100 to 150 potential at-bats, right? Potential leads, we'll call it, to then
Right.
transition to 10 new clients. So why is the process of recruiting any different? The percentages might be similar, right? So if I want to hire 3 solid team members, I really probably need to interview like 30 to 50 and get solid applicants in. So logistically, we changed the process, that the ad itself, the job ad, and made it more of a sales presentation. Like, what are our core values? What do we stand for? Here are the things that we love. Here's what we expect from our employees. Here's what the position entails, and here's what the compensation is. So, like, super open book. And then we invite everybody to apply. You give them 2 disqualifying questions at the end of the job ad, and then anybody that doesn't answer the questions at the when they apply for the position, obviously they didn't read the ad, they scrap themselves out. Narrow that initially down to, so I got 120 applicants,
Right.
staff for guest com C. Narrow that down to roughly 45 individuals, and we did group interviews. So I did 5 hours of straight group interviews, did 8 to 10 per interview, narrowed them down, and then I did about 11 follow-up one-to-one interviews, and then a team interview, and then we hired the right team members. And it's proving, we're 3 weeks in now, and it's 3.5 weeks in, and it's proving to be the best, knock on wood, the best onboarding process and launch process we've had with team members, and I've had ever, including past careers. So change the mindset to a sales process, get as many applicants in the door as possible, and then start to disqualify them through your process, and have additional team members on your staff also interview them and give you their insight. That took a lot of time. So I'm saying all this, it was like, and Elissa can attest, we were also going on a road trip with family in the process of doing this. And so I had like 35 hours of interviews in a week. But, my job as the owner of the company is to also bring on quality talent so we can position the company to grow. So don't skip out, and don't, excuse my French, don't half-ass or shortcut the process of hiring new staff. It's absolutely crucial.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, I know, like from corporate hiring, you have those types of numbers, but I like how you break it down as like you're thinking of pretty much as a funnel, right? And the top of the funnel is you're trying to get as many folks into that leads as the top of the funnel, but then at each stage you're going to lose people out. And in your case, you're actually losing people out intentionally. You're trying to weed people out into who you find is the best people to be at the bottom of the funnel. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nice. So what's the thing you're focusing on now as you're scaling up your company?
I would suppose that the theme, the last, probably couple weeks and leading into through the end of August, so for the next like 45 days, is streamlining our tech stack and kind of getting all these little systems to communicate together so that the user interface on our team, like my guest com staff, I don't want them going between 7 different systems to do their job every day. So we're in the process of developing, they're simple tools. Like we use Zapier, Make AI, and a few other integration tools to kind of streamline the information, make it easier for the team to execute their job. And the other thing is that we're in the process of tracking a lot of things on the properties and building like consistent repairs and maintenance visits on the properties, optimizing our guest feedback. One of the things that we were working through recently was as we start ramping up and we add more properties and we're short staffed, we start to feel it in the guest experience and not in a positive way. And so as soon as we started to feel that, Alyssa and I went, okay, our primary focus, so just so we're clear too, our mission statement at Rather Be Properties is to deliver 5-star hospitality to our guests while maximizing owner profits. And it's extremely challenging to do both. I've seen multiple companies out there that can do really well at one or the other, but these are almost competing mission statements to a certain degree. So it's like, how do we create the systems, the process, and then the accountability in the team to make sure that we're making progress towards that goal? So we want to deliver 5-star hospitality to our guests. Well, if that's truly what we believe, then we need to heed the feedback from our guests and take that and do something with it. So if a guest tells us that, hey, we had this issue that we found at the property and this other issue, are we like most other management companies and just disregard it because we're too busy? Or do we take that and do we go improve the property? And so we've been building a lot of systems to make the operations smoother, but also the experience smoother. So it's a lot of little things that we're working on, but all with the same goal in mind: better hospitality to the guests and better profits for the owners.
Yeah. Do you feel like as you scale up, it actually becomes easier to meet some of these goals because you're having a lot more systems in place, a lot more team on the ground, getting that consistent 5 star, you're getting a lot of feedback to consistently optimize the system, that it becomes a lot easier to nail that 5 star experience.
Yeah, I mean, for sure it does. And like you almost have to warrior up going into it. Meaning, if we start asking guests to give us feedback, which we recently implemented a job form survey post stay. So like right after the guest checks out, they get basically a thank you message from us, from the owners of the company, with a hey, thank you so much for staying with us. Your feedback's really important. Here's a link for you to just give us your feedback. And so we ask them questions about their stay, about the amenities, what was stocked at the property, what was missing, was there anything wrong, and then how would you rate our communication, our check-in process, the booking process, and then your stay itself. So getting that feedback is like gut wrenching sometimes, especially when we flipped the switch the first time, because we kind of knew like we had some guests that weren't super happy, and it was
Mhm.
about little stuff. Like it's not like we bombed their experience, but it's like, hey, their door code went out 15 minutes later. That's kind of important though for a guest experience up front, right? We want to make sure they have a good check-in process. So we knew going into we were going to get some feedback that we weren't super happy with, but that's the goal. That's what allows us to go ahead and fix the process. So you just got to be prepared for that um, feedback.
Yeah. Do you feel like guests will more likely give you a 5 star or pull back on a 5 star after they've given you this type of feedback?
So that's a phenomenal question. The reason we implemented this is because we wanted guests to have an avenue to speak to us before they feel compelled to post something in a public review. And so we tested this. That was the whole point of it. Let's see if this is going to help improve. And it really has. So there are a lot of guests that wanted to post bad stuff on the review, or not, not stuff that helps the review.
Right.
They're sharing that to us privately inside of the guest survey, and they're holding back on posting it in the review. They're either giving us a good review or they're not posting a review. And we get the occasionals here and there that still do, but way
Yeah.
better. Um,
It also gives you a chance to like jump in front of it. If you end up finding out that there's a really negative experience, you can pick up the phone, you can call them, you can message them in advance before maybe even that, like, was it like 6 hours after check-in or check out, like Airbnb sends that review message, like you can get ahead of it by then.
Yeah.
that was the whole intention on a lot of fronts. It was to allow us to be more proactive in the business rather than reactive.
Yeah. Do you do anything on the mid-stay side of things? Like after they checked in, like a day after?
Yeah, I mean, we send basically a check-in message like, how's your stay so far?
Yeah.
Our team will touch base, especially if there's any challenge that they faced. It could be anything like, hey, they had trouble signing the rental agreement, their check-in experience wasn't the best, they were late checking into the property because something they dealt with. Our new staff is really good at just doing, like, we call it a temperature check.
Yeah.
With a guest, just doing kind of a feel in with them on how their stay is going. But Alyssa's built automations and message templates to also check in with the guests and allow them to speak to us during their stay.
Nice. That's phenomenal. I want to transition a little bit to talk about some of the stuff that you guys do on the branding, social media, and really are on the direct booking side of things. Could you give our listeners a sense of what you kind of do in the direct booking space? Like, how do you drive direct bookings? What's that big lever that you guys pull?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So we have a WordPress website. We've just hired the IT person who is going to take over the SEO, the analytics, all the things are a little bit above my head for tracking purposes.
And mine.
Yeah, but we get a lot of repeat guests. We have an Instagram, Rather Be Properties with dots in between. We have a good following there. I have taken on board the marketing from the beginning. So I think my colors, my branding, my language, I guess, is throughout all my listing descriptions on Airbnb, Verbo, Booking.com, and on all our posts and things. We did hand our marketing over to a professional marketing company once, and then we pulled it back because it wasn't the same. It wasn't me writing those things and doing those things, and to us, it just sounded different.
Mm-hmm.
So we get influencers that message us daily wanting to stay in exchange for content. We have StayFi. We collect all the email addresses when guests check in. We have journey emails. We just send out monthly marketing emails. We have promo codes that we track through HostAway. Is there anything I'm missing?
No, I mean, again, we've gone through a lot of growth in the last 12 months. So there's a lot of things that we do on the direct booking side that I don't think we've given the time to see the fruit bear from.
Right.
But StayFi, for example, that's something we decided a year ago. Hey, we're going to start implementing StayFi at every property right up front. Even though we didn't have our marketing plans laid out for how we were going to market to them, I've always been told in business, especially in a service-based business, like data is key, right?
Yep.
And if we hold the data, then we hold the keys. And so we just wanted to data mine for every guest that stayed at our properties. And so we started marketing to them pretty consistently at the beginning of this year. But that's kind of the extent of what we do now. There's a lot of other things that we want to do, of course, and all of those take resources.
Got it. So you gave me a good idea of like the overall, all the investment areas. I want to dive deeper into a few of those that you mentioned. You mentioned that influencers are reaching out to you on a daily basis. Did I hear that correctly? Every single, basically 365 influencers reach out to you throughout the calendar year. Then that might sway it one way or another, but like you have a pretty high volume of influencers. Is that right?
Yes, I feel like influencers and Instagram marketing is kind of the way that our generation and generations around us are kind of heading at the moment. We even get influencers on Airbnb message us. Can we stay at a discounted rate? Our properties are beautiful from the inside out. We have heated pools, we have hot tubs, we have mural walls, and
the luxury homes, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
In a true vacation home market.
They're
the thing that
Instagrammable. I think they post and they share, and the influencers reach out to us thinking that they will be helping us grow our platform by sharing them. Right.
Yeah, and then the entrepreneur side of me comes out of it and goes, okay, so what are we objectively, how is this relationship going to work? And then what are we going to get out of it? Because this whole like, hey, a free stay type of thing, I also think that there's a big fad with influencers, and that term is used very loosely. Like, do they have 5,000 followers and a few thousand engagements each month, or do they have 100,000 followers and 50,000 engagements a month? So we have to do a little bit of vetting with the influencers, of course, too, and see like, A, do they match kind of our vision, our brand for what we're looking for, and do their social media following, so the followers on social media, are they indicative of the avatar of guests that we want to house at the properties? And then also, like, what are they going to do at the house after their stay? Are they just posting twice while they're at the property and they get a free $1,500 vacation? Or are we requiring them to do, 30 days of posting after and tag us and this type of stuff? So we're iterating that process right now. We're going to roll out a service level agreement with influencers probably in the next week to 2 weeks. So it basically says like, hey, here's what you can expect from us. Basically, we're going to treat you like you're a completely paid guest, get access to all the amenities. Here's what either your discount or a free stay, or here's what we expect you to pay, such as the cleaning fee. And then here's what we expect after. Like, we want X number of posts over X number of weeks. We want to be tagged. We want to do different things in collaboration, but there's got to be expectations on both sides.
Yeah. So it sounds like you do. There's like three things that you look for when you're looking at influencers. There's one is like really around like brand. Are they the brand that you want to pair up with? Are they speaking to your voice, your language? Two, does the the audience overlap with who could be staying at your properties?
Mm-hmm.
And then three, what are like the deliverables that they plan to invest into coming out of it? Is that right?
Yeah, and I'll throw a little tactic out there that we've started to play with recently is when we launch a property, right? There's permits, there's design, there's furnishing, inventory, everything that's required. So we might get a house ready to launch, have a photo shoot, but it can't go live for 4 or 5 days because the listing, the photos have to come in. So the property's sitting there idle. So we reached out to one of the models that we worked with, who's a social media influencer too. She stayed at a few of our properties in the past, usually just pays a cleaning fee, which works great for me. And at the end of the day, they're not taking up precious bookable time. because we haven't launched the listing yet. They stay at the property, they give us content. So we do our photo shoot, our professional photo shoot up front, but then it gives us content for Elissa to start marketing this property and change the photos, say in 3, 4, 5 months from now. So we're kind of playing with that too, doing it right up front, but then also trickling it in, after the property's been active for 6 to 12 months.
Yeah. That's interesting. You mentioned something a few times, both in this part of the segment about direct bookings, but also on your operations around measurement. Can you speak to our listeners a little bit about some of the KPIs that are important to you and kind of like why that's the thread that I'm starting to hear more and more through some of our conversations?
Sure. Do you want me to start now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So KPIs, for anybody to know, key performance indicators. Easiest way to put it, they're data metrics that measure the success or failure of a certain pillar of the business, right? It could be, percentage of 5-star reviews. It could be post engagement. It could be all the things with website conversion with Google Analytics, which I know null about. But all these aspects of the business, really what they do is they lift the fog and allow us to see clearly into the business. No emotion, just logic on either what's working or what needs improvement. And so KPIs is a fundamental aspect of any business. If you look at any entrepreneur that runs a successful multiple, either 7, 8, 9, 10-figure business, they are operating off of some form of KPIs. So the KPIs that are important to us, we're in the process of building an entire process for KPIs, which is one of the reasons why we brought on a full IT person. That's ultimately how much we believe in it. I hired a full-time staff member to come in and kind of lift that fog for us. So guest reviews, percentage of 5-star reviews that we get in comparison to the total reviews. Our inquiry response time, so how quickly are we responding to guest inquiries? How many messages are we replying to, or how many messages are left unreplied to? What's the percentage of repairs and maintenance on properties per month? Are we above or below the budget on repairs and maintenance on each home, and supplies and inventory? How are we on ADR, occupancy, and total revenue based off a goal that we set for the property on a month-by-month basis? Obviously, all the website conversion through Google Analytics. So there's quite a bit of things.
Also, MailChimp conversions.
Yeah, email
rate,
opens.
click to book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you see like direct booking rate eventually becoming one of those KPIs that you track, or for you it's the bottom line revenue that you care more about?
Well, okay, so for me, I'm always focused top line at the high level of the company,
Right.
maximizing owner profits. At the end of the day, direct bookings are a fundamental piece of the business, and I'll let Elissa talk about that in a minute. But let's not mistake the fact that Airbnb dominates the industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I understand the push for direct bookings, and I love it. And it can't be just direct bookings, and frankly, it can't just be OTAs. But if you don't do a great enough job optimizing your listings on the OTAs, then you're not going to get the opportunity to build direct bookings long term, in my opinion. Anyway, so you kind of have to have a multiple pronged approach. So I think we've kind of started to feel like what our own swim lanes are between the two of us. And Elissa really focuses more on the direct booking side. I like to focus on optimizing on the listings and make sure we're performing well on a month-by-month basis. I'd like to say that direct bookings is 6 to 12 months plus future revenue.
Yep.
Whereas OTA marketing is like today to 6 months from now. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think we are performing really well on the OTAs, and I do drop little hints on the listings. That property always has a name, and it's always hosted by our property management company, by Rotherby Properties. People can Google that. There's always a link to our Instagram page where people message me on Instagram and say, I seen your listing on Airbnb. Where's the direct booking link for that property in specific? I have a link tree with all the properties. We do manage a lot of properties now. When it was just 5 or 6 properties, it was very easy to open our Instagram and know exactly where to book. But now there's a lot. It takes a bit of searching. So
Right.
Always there for people when they ask questions, when they find us on Instagram. We also have a phone line that people call and book from. Booking.com. I used to answer the phone all the time for Booking.com guests. looking to book a property, and we would convert them to direct bookings easily because our phone number's on the website.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So it sounds like you guys are like invested on both the OTA side and the direct booking side, and the direct booking seems to be more of the long-term sustainability of the company, and a lot of existing revenues are still coming from OTAs, and you're transitioning through the years.
Yeah, I mean, if we just look at high level for a second, everybody knows who Vacasa is, largest management company in the US, and they predominantly push direct bookings, right? Like that's their platform. No matter how much they spend, they're never going to outbeat Airbnb's, marketing and their search rankings. So while direct bookings are super crucial and it's great, we don't have to deal with OTAs. We get to build relationships with our guests, and it's a much more long-term business strategy. I think putting all your eggs in one basket is a challenge, just like in any other type of business or any sort of pillar of business you have. Putting all your eggs in one basket can propose challenges.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit. Maybe my last question around the segment is like, why is direct bookings important to you? You mentioned a few of those. Can you recap kind of like why you're investing into it?
I'll share from my side, the operations side, for a second. Honestly, it's really challenging sometimes with Airbnb guests because they hold the keys on that review, right? And they know that these days. That's the thing. A lot of guests realize that when they book on Airbnb, they can trash our listing by one review, and there's hardly anything we can do about it. There's certain nuances and dynamics where we can get that review removed, obviously, but they act that way, and it becomes a challenge. So if a guest walks in a property and goes, "Hey, the spa's having an issue," and we get our tech out there immediately and we get it resolved, that doesn't stop the guest from contacting Airbnb and getting a decent refund for their stay, even though we address the issue. There's some of those operational challenges. They're a lot less of a problem when we deal with direct bookings. It doesn't mean we don't take care of the guests. I want to be clear with that.
Right.
We still address the issue. We still take care of them, but it's from a different approach. We don't feel like we're staring down the barrel of a shotgun on these direct bookings.
Yeah, I hear you on that one.
I will add to that. Yes, 100%. We don't like having phone calls from Airbnb support saying that, this guest seen a bug and now they're getting a full refund.
Right.
But I like the connection with the guest. Once we host a guest, we make a connection with them. They want to come back to that same place next year or next month, wherever it may be, and we can accommodate for them to get them into the same house or a different property. We've already made that connection. They know what to expect. A lot of people reach out and they say, we don't want to stay here. This one might be cheaper or more affordable, but we want to stay with you because we know that we'll look after them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's around building a longer term relationship with the guests that you can nurture over many stays, not just that one.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Elissa, I usually end the show with two questions. One's a mindset question, one's a takeaway question. So the first one, what's that one piece of mindset advice that you would give to someone that's starting something completely new?
Specifically in this industry?
It could be. It doesn't have to be. Actually, I think a lot of folks, like, they're thinking about this as more of a business and less so specifically short-term rentals.
Yeah, fair. I would challenge that it's okay to give yourself the time to scrape your knees and test and iterate different things in your business to find what works well. Like if you implement a system, like if you roll out a PMS and then 3 months later you realize, man, that probably wasn't the best decision. I think I can find a few different alternatives, versus just jumping the gun and going down the path and switching PMSs arbitrarily. Like do some research, spend 30 days and test a few different systems out. Does it take more time and effort to do that? Yeah. But it's way less painful than if you have to make a switch again to another PMS 3 months later. That same mentality applies in every aspect of business in general. Like give yourself the time to iterate and understand that we're playing a long game. Gary Vee, Tony Robbins, multiple people, influencers or personal development gurus or whatever you want to call them. I've heard this term from them a lot over the last few years, and that's we overestimate what we can get done in a 12-month or 1 year period, and we grossly underestimate what we can get done in a decade. And so my mindset tip is just to play the long game.
Nice. I love that. Alyssa, do you have anything to add or?
Just trust in the process. Give it a go. Yeah. Get yourself in a group or an accountability partnership, if you will, to make sure that things are getting done. I think being an entrepreneur and not having a boss, so to speak, not having anyone to report to, having that person to say, get it done. Okay. We have a child. Come in.
That's okay. I have a child as well. Not with me here.
We've got a couple.
We have a guest star.
We do.
Awesome. All right.
2 guests.
Last question. What's the one big takeaway that you want our listeners to walk away with today?
Yeah, go.
Honestly, regardless of what's going on in talks about the economy, the housing market, the short-term rental, boom or bust, all this, talk over the last year, you can build a really successful business in this industry and on almost anything else, regardless of the economic status. Like, it doesn't matter that Airbnb rentals are down 20% year over year. You can still, grow 500% as a company. The exterior sources and the exterior influences can make an impact, but it's not going to be the telltale. How you operate every single day, whether you show up or not, is what's going to impact the success or failure of your business. And so show up and put in the hours.
Nice. Alyssa, how about you? What's the one big takeaway? Any tactics that you want to share with our listeners?
I don't know. I was too distracted by the children. A takeaway.
Team. Fun.
Yeah, have fun with the process. I mean, we do it with our children, sometimes on our laps. It's a family business at the end of the day. And
yeah, I'm sure they're learning a whole bunch watching you guys grow. You guys moved the entire family to somewhere you want them to grow up, and I love how you guys kind of work together as a powerhouse couple, but also as parents as well too. You're juggling a whole ton while really scaling up your portfolio. It doesn't seem like your family is slowing you down whatsoever. If anything, it might be energizing you.
Yeah,
safe to say.
Yeah.
Awesome. Alyssa, it was really good having you folks on the show. If folks want to follow you, get to learn more about you, or maybe even book with you, where can folks find you?
Instagram at rather.b.properties.
Awesome. All right.
Bill, thanks for having us on.
Yeah. Before we go, there's a 30-second drop. There's a story behind Rather Be, the name of it. What is that?
So we got married just over 10 years ago. Or excuse me, we met just over 10 years ago. Yeah, 9 months after we met. And one of the first songs that we danced to when we first met just over 10 years ago was a song Rather Be by Clean Bandits. And then we ended up getting married to that song. And then that really became the theme of our company. No place I'd rather be. And so that's, if you think about vacation rentals and hospitality, we want our guests to feel like there's no place they'd rather be. And so that's, we've got that theme through our guest book, through our logo, through our murals on the properties. So that's kind of the story.
But it was also the theme of our relationship before the company that I was in Australia and he was in California and we met and there was no place we would rather be.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Al. Thank you, Elissa, for being with me today. I really enjoyed having you on the show, really learning about how you've evolved as investors, how your portfolio has grown, how you think about the different systems and processes and how you're scaling that, and also being able to see a glimpse into your family as well, too.
Thanks, Gil. Thank you. We appreciate the time, too.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.